I'm Steve. I'm blind, and this is the Blind Gamer Podcast. This is a little bit different than a normal podcast. I'm having to essentially record this in a very different way, only just because I am a little bit busy this week, and I'll explain why in a second. So I couldn't be able to do a proper podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, I apologize. My head's kind of cut off. I'm having to sort of do this sort of makeshift tripod for my phone, and I'm also having a coffee, so... Yeah. So I am not going to be able to do a proper podcast this week, only just because this is the second day, right as of recording this, a second day of doing a proper playtest of a game for Ubisoft. Now, here's the thing. I'm not allowed to say what game it is. I'm not allowed to say what I like about it, whether I didn't like it, and I'm not even allowed to say it after the game has come out. So I won't say what console it's for. I just will say that I'll kind of sort of give my experience, because I think that maybe if you're listening or you're watching, you may not know sort of what a play test is like when you're going into a developer to be able to try out a game. And that's part of the deal. Essentially, there's an NDA for that for when you're going in, so that you're not allowed to talk about the game itself. And again, sorry, I'm watching this on my phone, and I can see my head. My head is kind of cut off, so I'm sorry. It's just gonna have to live with the top of the frame. I'm gonna drink my coffee again. So I'm kind of going to talk about my experience as much as I can, because I definitely signed an NDA, so I'm not allowed to say a lot about the specific game I'm playing. But I'm just going to kind of give my first time experience of a playtest, because I've never done it before. I've tested games before they've come out, but I've never actually done where I went into a developer to try it. So Ubisoft, if you don't know, has an office here in Toronto, and they are part of the Ubisoft family. So they are responsible for mainly making games that are like kind of part of a whole of Ubisoft. So they're like, because they have multiple offices will work on different aspects of games. So I won't. So they actually do have an office here, and I've met with some of the people who worked at Ubisoft before, and that's not how I got in. I actually did apply properly to be a playtester, and lucky enough that because I was in Toronto, they chose me to along with like 20 other people to join in. And I won't kind of go into the sort of the practices of sort of how they went through the actual playtest. I'm only kind of giving my experience, and this is sort of right now day one experience for me. So when you walk in, essentially you are like you're with a group of like 20 other people, and they basically explain the details of what you're going to be doing, and they reiterate that you're not allowed to talk about the game. You can say that you did a playtest for Ubisoft, but that's about it. Sorry. So then you're brought into essentially a room where they kind of have like a little station for you, and they essentially just wanted you to be able to kind of sit down and play the game just as you normally would. That's kind of how like they say that you're not looking for bugs, because they actually hire people for bug testing. That's not what this is about. This is sort of just you play it as you normally would if you were at home, and then they will just evaluate kind of how you're doing. They won't you. It's not like that you have to kind of be on your best behavior or play in a special kind of way. They just have a team there that essentially is watching each player. They record everything, and they are just sort of taking notes of how people are playing it and what they can be able to do to kind of bring notes to bring back to the team that's actually working on the game. And it's kind of a cool experience. I never actually had they have it where you basically, like, they say you have to turn your phones off and any sort of recording device, including smartwatches. So I literally had to turn my phone. I've never really turned my phone off. It's one of the things. And I'm also not allowed to record anything when I'm at the facility or at the office. So essentially, they have you turn your phone completely off, and they have you I turn my smartwatch. You know how hard it is to be able to play a game and not check the time? Like, the only reason why I knew what time it was when they would interrupt for lunch or whichever, and so it was kind of hard to just it was a little bit difficult to kind of give that up. I mean, my phone I can give it no problem. That wasn't bothering me. It was my watch. I didn't realize how I kind of needed that time aspect to it. So yeah, I mean, there was the one thing they did say is that you're not in this playtest to be able to catch bugs. That's not the purpose of it. If bugs happen, they will attempt to fix it as best as they can, so I can be able to still keep playing. I won't say that there was any, or that there wasn't, but that's essentially they let you know that ahead of time, and then it's kind of a. And then, it's kind of an interesting experience. Like you just are in a little cubicle, and with a console and a controller, and you're just playing the game. And then they would stop and they would ask questions about what you liked, what you didn't like, and what about each and every aspect of the game. And I'm not sort of giving away trade secrets, because essentially, at least I hope not, obviously. But essentially every kind of game developer goes through that, because they obviously want feedback on how the game is. And it's. So they kind of stop every once in a while to ask those questions, and it was actually at one point I didn't even really notice it until I was until I was just kind of like I kind of just stopped for a second, and I sort of kind of gave a quick glance behind me, and there was one of the team that was there. Was actually sitting right behind me with a laptop and watching me and taking notes. That was a bit disconcerting. I mean, I'm used to people watching me play games because they know, because they mostly know I suck. But when I'm actually sitting there playing a game that they're essentially taking notes of how I play the game, it's a little bit. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, because I'm like, am I doing okay? Is this all right? Am I up doing, going through their expectations? Now, I wasn't doing this as a low vision consultant type thing, so that this is different than that. I have not done a low vision consultancy on a game yet. That is my goal actually for this year. I want for 2018. I want to be able to. Basically do a low vision consultancy for a game developer, and I want to be able to see my name in credits as a consultant for that game. That's my goal, is to be able to get a name in the credits as a consultant for a game. So this wasn't it. This was just a playtest, because I wanted to see what it was like. I may not do these in the future because of the fact I can't talk about the game. I can't play it on this channel. I wouldn't be able to do that. That would go against the NDA. So I'm going to have to. It's kind of, so I may have this as my only sort of playtest, proper playtest. But I am excited to see it. Like, I'm actually about to go into day 2 right now. It's a 3-day sort of thing, and so I'm just about to go in. I have no idea what to expect, whether I'm going to be playing the same game or not. I assume it is, or it's different. I don't know. But I'm going to sort of give my little bit of report of day 2 once I'm done. I'm drinking my coffee and I head out there. So yeah, again, I can't really record it while I'm in there, so you'll just have to kind of get my thoughts after the fact. But I wanted to at least document this occasion, because you may not know what this is like as a playtester. So I kind of wanted to sort of document that experience. So anyway, yeah, on to day 2. Good coffee. Okay, so this is the end of day 3 of the 3 days playtest. And so I didn't record the end of day 2, because essentially day 2 and 3 were pretty much the same, where I just played a video game all day. That's essentially it. And I also kind of, I was in a bit of a rush when I was making the first part of this, only just because I literally had to record it before I left to catch my my bus to head to the studio. But I wanted to at least kind of give here's what I went through in order to be able to actually do a play test. Do a proper, actually get involved in a playtest for a game. So now I should preface this by saying that I've sort of worked, quote unquote, with Ubisoft in the past. They invited me in October to a Game UX Summit here in Toronto. So Ubisoft was actually helping that out, and actually organizing it here in Toronto along with Epic Games. And they invited me to be a speaker or a panelist
on one of their panels where we talked about accessibility. And so I got to know the two people who work there in the PR department at the Ubisoft Toronto office, and they're absolutely amazing. And I should preface this by saying that because of that, they did send me a game that was Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. So I thanked them for that. And they actually gave me, it's sitting right here. If you can't see, you won't be able to hear this, but it's a very nice like a thank you card where it says thank in blue letters and a giant U. I don't know if that was on purpose because of Ubisoft, but it was a nice card. And on the inside, it says, "Dear Steve, thank you. You're awesome. Thanks so much for being a part of Game UX Summit 2017. Celia, Justin, and Heather." And they're the people who helped run it. So I have worked with Ubisoft, quote unquote. It was just asked to be a panelist, but I got to know them a little bit. And so I remember seeing actually on Facebook just recently that they were doing a push for playtesters to come to Ubisoft office and test out a game. So I actually I saw that. I wasn't asked by the people at Ubisoft to do it, but I just yeah, you know what, I'll give it a try. So I applied. They asked a few questions, mostly kind of what games you play, how often do you play them, what types of games do you like, and how often do you play those. And so it kind of just is a bit of a questionnaire so that allows the people who are running the playtest to sort of figure out, okay, is this person going to be a good fit to try out the game? Usually, it's not. Or I wouldn't say they kind of you base that on to, okay, this person is going to really love this game. I fully believe that the people that they choose is at random, but it just sort of helps to know what type of gamer that they are asking to come in. And so then I sent in the form, and I wasn't really expecting anything until a couple of days later. I actually got an email from them saying, "Hey, by the way, you have been selected, and we'll probably give you a call." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I got a call actually from them, and they said they asked me a few more questions. And then they said they would let me know if I was to be involved, and I was like, oh, yeah. They asked if I was available, and I said, yes, I am. And so again, I sort of had this is actually not the first time that I sort of had this opportunity to kind of come about. I've had to there's been a few times within the past couple of months that I've had opportunities to do playtests, but this was just my experience this time for Ubisoft, and so then they. So then I got a call, or actually, at first they said, okay, by the way, we've already got our slots filled for this time around, but we want to be able to bring you in at some point, and we did talk about accessibility, so that was something that's on the radar, but it wasn't for this particular playtest, and. Then they called me and said, "Hey, you know what? Someone had dropped out. We would love to be able to come in." And I was like, "Okay, I would love that." And so I was I was using this as sort of like an additional sort of foot in the door to possibly do accessibility work with Ubisoft. This was something that I had been asked about by the people that I know at Ubisoft. If that was something I was interested in, I said yes for sure. And so we had talked about it a few times, but this is sort of something that kind of came up that was just on my radar and on their radar, and so it just kind of it just kind of came out. It just sort of worked out, and so but the thing is, they asked if you have to be available for at least these amount of days, and for this particular playtest, it was 3 days over a course of a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and they basically just ask you to come into the office. And you're with a bunch of other people. It's not just you. It's a group of people that they just you're all doing the same thing. And it was kind of awkward, actually, when you walk in because no one really knows each other. And everyone's very quiet and just sort of kind of dicking around on their phones, essentially. That's all we kind of really did. It was just because no one was really talking to each other. By about the second or third day, we kind of were at least talking. I actually don't know really anybody's names. Unfortunately, we didn't kind of go that far into the conversation. But that's the thing. It's part of the NDA is that you're not allowed to really talk about the game with anybody, including the people that you're playing with. So that's just how strict the NDA is, which is fair, totally fair. And So I was, so we were brought in, and it was kind of cool because they had a bunch of in the lobby. They had a bunch of concept art hanging on the walls, and a lot of us actually were trying to figure out which game that concept art was for. I think we sort of figured. I think I found one that was for Assassin's Creed, but I wasn't too sure. Like they weren't literally labeled. It was just had the artist name, and it was concept art and what sort of where they went to school. I guess I think there was a few of those in there. But then we were brought into a room. And oops, sorry, my battery just indication. We were brought into a room, and then we just were told, play a game. I don't want to go into more details than that, but that's essentially how it all happened. And then over the course of 3 days, that's exactly what I did. Now, this is different than a test of that I want to be able to do this year, and that is doing accessibility testing for a game developer. This was an experience that I wanted to try for a while since I started doing Blind Gamer, just so I had the experience of it. This is something I probably would not, like thinking about over the past 3 days, and something I don't think I will do it again. Not because I had a sour experience because of this, but mostly just because of that. I want to be able to play games on this channel that I really do enjoy and I have fun with. And unfortunately, with this game that I played, I will not be able to do that. That's fair. That's totally fair. And I was kind of wondering sort of why that sort of NDA kind of existed. And I was I was kind of thinking about it because I'm not allowed to talk about it even after the game has been released. And I was sort of talking to a game reviewer friend of mine, and I was like, I'm kind of wondering why that was. And they're like, well, it makes sense because if there's something that kind of came up within the game that wasn't in the final release, and you sort of talk about, oh yeah, no, that wasn't this wasn't in the game, or this was in the game, especially if like someone like hypothetically a racist character is in the playtest but is not in the final version, and I talk about said racist character online or whatever, and but it wasn't in the final version, that kind of is like it kind of raises a lot of questions about the developer in and of itself. So after hearing that, I was like, I totally understand that. But it was sorry, I'm just kind of a bit rambling. But what I really learned about this experience was doing a playtest is that it just reaffirms what my goal is for this year. And I think I may have talked about it previously. And I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but I want to be able to help game developers be able to make games for people like myself, people with low vision, or people with low mobility issues, or people with no vision, or people who are deaf, or people with accessibility obstacles. I want to be able to help make those games more accessible for those players, because games should be for everyone, regardless of accessibility obstacle you have. And we want to be, and the thing is, with those in the accessible community, we want to play those games. We want to play the games that our friends are playing. Sure, audio-only games for myself would be fine, but I want to be able to play the next Assassin's Creed, kind of using an Ubisoft reference. I want to play that. But I can if it's not accessible for someone like myself. So I want to be able to help make that happen. So this year for 2018, my goal is to help a game developer and actually be brought in as a consultant for low vision at a game developer for at least one game. That is my goal for 2018, and I will continue to do that. This podcast is really a way for me to be able to help move me towards that goal, as well as this whole channel now. I've kind of adjusted my thinking in regards to this channel. And originally it was just for fun and entertainment, and I still will provide that. But I really wanted to be able to, like, after speaking at a few conferences and talking to developers and talking to other people within the accessible community, it has reaffirmed my stance and has kind of brought in a new sort of mentality for me, in that I want to be able to help make games accessible for everyone. And I'll provide the best advice that I can from my own experience. I will not pretend to speak for someone who has low mobility issues, someone who can't see at all, who is deaf. Obviously, that is not my experience. But if I can be able to help anyone with a low vision player or a blind gamer, that if there's a game that they play that because of something that I helped sort of mold in a small way, that helps that gamer to be able to play the game to the best of their ability, then that makes it all worthwhile. So this playtest, it just kind of, although it was great, I probably will not do it again, mainly just because, again, I want to be able to play games on this channel without having to sort of be beholden to an NDA. And the NDA is fine. It's whatever. But it was definitely a really, really cool experience, and I would definitely recommend it. I would recommend at least trying it once for sure, because it's one of those experiences that, hey, I got to sit around for 3 days playing a video game. I don't do that normally anyway. I play maybe a video game like a couple hours here and there, and I think Breath of the Wild is probably the only game that I actually played for like a couple hours a day in order to be able to finish it. So to be able to sit in a room and play a video game for 3 days, and essentially it was kind of like a you clock in at 9 a.m., you clock out at 5, and it was sort of like a 9 to 5 job for 3 days. That's the dream. That's like every gamer's dream growing up. It's like, man, I would love to be able to be paid to be able to play games all day. No, I didn't get paid. For warning that now, I did not get paid. I did get something for my trouble, but I did not get actually paid actual money. But that's still the dream, right? To be able to play video games for a living. And so I would say, I would recommend doing a playtest at any game developer that's closest to you. I would even recommend doing a playtest at Ubisoft. The people there were absolutely fantastic. They were amazing professionals, and they were really cool to be able to work with. So it was a great experience all around. The only reason why I wouldn't do it again is I want to play games on my channel. I want to play games and then talk about them. I want to talk about these games. So that's basically it. Anyway, I know I'm rambling on too much, and I do apologize if this does not have the amount of details that you were hoping for in regards to it. But I hope this will shed some light in regards to sort of the experience of what a playtest is like, more so than the actual specific details. And if you want to be able to follow along on this podcast, I apologize that it's a short one this week. And actually, I kind of like these little lo-fi sort of special episodes. I may do that every once in a while. Make sure you come back next week, because next Monday I will have a conversation that I had with my friend Cassie Chu, who is a artist and designer at Drinkbox Studio. I can't remember. I always get the job titles confused. Anyway, she works at Drinkbox Studio. The people who make Guacamelee and are now making Guacamelee 2. So she is also the former level designer and artist for Electronic Superjoy, if you ever played that game. And it was a great conversation. I've known her for a couple of years now, and it was just kind of great to get to know her a little bit more and know what her background is and how she got into video games and how she got into game development and sort of kind of the nitty-gritty of what it's like to be able to actually design a level within a video game and what a level designer kind of actually is. So we really kind of get into that. It's going to be a two-parter episode, so that'll start next week. So make sure you subscribe to be able to hear that when it comes out. If you want to be able to support myself and this channel, you go to patreon.com/Steve Saylor. For as low as $1, you can be able to get access to episodes of Blind Gamer early, and for as low as $5, you can actually be able to get episodes of this podcast early. I really would appreciate your support. If you want to be able to follow me online, at Steve Saylor everywhere, or youtube.com/snowball. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, like, comment, and subscribe, please. And click the notification bell so you can be notified when new episodes come out. I don't know what Blind Gamer are going to be coming out this week. I'm thinking Celeste. I'm not 100% sure. I've got a few games that are sort of recorded. Whatever I feel like editing. That's basically it. So anyway, that's it. As always, I remain obedient to yours. Bye.